this is episode 287. And I can't believe that in May this year, we will have notched up 16 years of producing the Dream Show podcast. 16 years! It doesn't seem that long. We started in May 2009, and we started with a weekly podcast before, after about a year, I think, changing it to every 4 weeks. And I wanted to start today's podcast by introducing some very small changes that are going to happen with the Dream Show this year, and also to update a little bit of personal news before we go on to look at some dreams. Well, we don't have a guest on the show. This is a slightly different episode today, and I will be sharing some stories about dreams and some dream interpretation tips. So stay to the end of the podcast to get those. The first thing I wanted to say was, for many of you who have listened to the show or been a guest on the show in the last nearly 16 years, will remember my husband Michael. And Michael, when we started off podcasting, did all the technical side of it. I didn't have to participate in any of that. All I had to do was turn up at the microphone and talk with our guests, or talk, if it was a guest-free episode, talk about dreams in general, and that was my job. Those of you who have been guests on the show may have remembered having a chat with Michael before or after the show while we were getting the technical details and the recording levels right. And some of you may just remember listening as we were recording the podcast. You will have listened to Michael pass me little notes or say little things during the podcast that many of you will have picked up on. And I know that over the years I've had many emails from people saying that they've appreciated our work and always made reference to Michael's contribution there. Sadly, Michael has been very sick for 2 or 3 years, and that culminated last year in becoming extremely unwell and very sadly passing away in October last year. He is very deeply and dearly missed. And it felt remiss to go ahead with the Dream Show without letting some of you know that background story. Leading up to Michael's death, we made quite a few changes, and one of them, apart from being Michael's carer myself for many, many months before he passed away, one of the things that I needed to do was take over the technical ropes. So there have been several episodes of the Dream Show which were completely recorded by me and processed by me, give or take various recording errors and highlights. and of course, this is me on my own again doing it now. So that's a little personal bit of news. On the slight changes that I'm introducing, one thing that I thought, we've always loved having anonymous guests on the show, and we are going to continue to do that. And when you're an anonymous guest on the show, what happens is that you put your hand up, you volunteer to come on the show, and you bring a dream, and I hear the dream for the first time after I press record. We listen to your dream, we explore it together, we look at how it relates to your life, and we find deep insights from your dream that will be helpful to you in your life for you to apply. Now, what you do if you come onto the show as a volunteer guest in that way is that you perform the amazing gift of giving back, really, to other people. So, you as a listener may have listened to hundreds of anonymous guests go through their dreams, and I'm sure that you have learned many tools and techniques and ways to explore your dreams through listening to those guests, as well as learning a little bit more about their histories and their stories, even though they're anonymous. And a lot of people feel that for what they've gained from that, they like to come on the show themselves as a guest and contribute a dream, so that it's a bit of giving back, and it's also a bit of giving forward, because you're giving your dream and your and my exploration of your dream as a gift to our future listeners to help them understand their dreams. So we're definitely continuing with that format, but we are also introducing a new format. Now, if you've listened to the last 2 episodes, episode 286 and 285, you'll have had an example of this new format. So what's happened is that I have been approached by a number of people who've said, I want to be a guest on your show. I feel that your audience is a match for what I do, but I don't want to be anonymous. I'd like to be interviewed. I'd like to, give what I feel I've got to share for your audience. And I have was thinking, do I want to go down this track? Do I not want to go down this track? And I did it for the last 2 episodes, and I made the proviso that, yes, we'll do this, but the thing about the Dream Show is you bring a dream. So the format, if you want to be a guest on that different level, is that you bring a dream and we discuss your dream, but instead of taking the whole 45 minutes or an hour to look at your dream, as we do when you're an anonymous guest, if you come on as proudly stating who you are and the story you have to share, you bring a dream and we maybe look at it for 5 minutes, maybe 10. Or maybe you don't bring a dream, maybe you bring a deep question about dreaming. So we talk about dreams or about your dream for about 10 minutes before we then go on to a more traditional podcast interview, where we talk about things and we draw out the story that you want to tell. So as an example of that, you could be anybody. You might be an author, an artist, a community leader, an entrepreneur, a therapist, a podcaster, an instigator for change, or a pioneer of some kind. The thing will be that you have something that you want to share with our audience, which is quite large. So you won't be anonymous. We'll chat, we'll draw out your story, we'll talk about what you've got to offer and tell our listeners how they can get in touch with you. But remember that one proviso is that you share a dream. So think of it as a podcast interview with a difference. Your story is enriched through a glimpse into your inner world. And if you are an author or a provider of some kind, it can be very much an advantage to you, of course, to share a little bit more of yourself and your inner world and your authenticity with your prospective clients or customers or readers. So this can be the show to do that. So if you'd like to be a guest on the Dream Show, either anonymous or known, go to my website, which is janeteresa.com. That's Teresa with an H. Go to the menu, go to podcasts, and in the drop-down box, you'll see Be a Guest on the Dream Show. Technically, all you do is email me, and the details are there, saying that you'd like to be a guest on the Dream Show and why. But there are more details there about, the procedures and how it happens. So the show, when we have guests, it only works if we have guests. So if you're sitting there thinking either I'd like to be an anonymous guest and I'd like to contribute in that way, or I'd really like to have an interview with Jane Teresa because I think her audience will be really interested in what I've got to say, then please put your hand up. I'll be recording these over the next few days, weeks. So as an example, the last 2 episodes, if we go back to episode 286, for example, my guest was Annabelle Rowley. And Annabelle is a psychologist. She's a professional golfer. And she's the founder of Interpreter AI, which is a dream analysis and conversation app built around AI. So we discuss and explore all of that. How can AI help, or where can it be of help and where can it not be of help in analysing dreams? And Annabelle brought her dream, which was about a shark attack. So you can hear about her dream, how it related to her life, and our lovely and really interesting discussion on the role of AI in understanding your dreams. And then one more, back in episode 285, my guest was Lisa Marciano, who's a Jungian analyst and podcaster. Her show is This Jungian Life, and she's also an author. And she was on to share details about her book, Dreamwise, which was about dream analysis. And she brought her own personal dream, which was about a journey to Boston. So if you're contemplating coming on as a known person with a story to tell, you might like to listen to those 2 episodes to get an idea of how they flow. Now, you probably noticed that both those last 2 episodes were around dreams. One was on talking about the role of AI or not in dream analysis, and the other one was about a book about dreams. But what I'm really opening up from 2025 and going onwards in this other role as a guest on my show is that you don't necessarily have to be talking about dreams. What you want to talk about and introduce about yourself and share with the world does not have to be about dreams. What it does have to be is something that you feel is relatable to our audience. Our audience is very large, is worldwide, is obviously people are interested in dreams, But most people that are interested in dreams are also interested in personal development, spirituality, a lot of artists, a lot of entrepreneurs. So, that's our audience. So you know how to put up your hand to be a guest on the Dream Show, and I look forward to you doing that. And before I go on to the promised couple of dream stories, I also wanted to just remind you, because I had so much fun doing this, about my book, my first fiction book, Ninth Life. If you know my work well, you'll know that I've written 8 books on dreams and dreaming, and it was 7 books on dreams and dreaming. And it was such a pleasure earlier this year to release my first fiction called Ninth Life. And I have talked about it a bit on the podcast before. It's been lovely, been getting some great reviews. It's been lovely having many of you buy the book. If you are not counted in that many of you, why not? It's a very entertaining book. It's a lot of fun, and it's kind of a bit of an allegory too, so it will be right up your alley. I'll just read a couple of extracts from reviews for it before I go on to the dream stuff. So from Kirkus Reviews, which is a big reviewer, they say relatable individuals and an emotionally impactful story. Of course, it is the fairy star of this narrative who steals the show. And for those of you who don't know, the fairy star of the narrative is a marmalade-coloured cat. Another review, a whimsical yet profound narrative. The prose is crisp and the dialogue sparkles from page to page. That's the review from the book commentary. And just one more for now, from the Serial Reader on Amazon. A brilliantly plotted story that's filled with warmth and humour. So I won't say much more about the book, and I can't say much more about. I have on my website a page full of reviews about the book. If you really, really, really want to read the reviews before you buy the book, you can go there. The book is available in both paperback and Kindle on Amazon. Dreams. Before I totally go here, a reminder of my 2 websites. There's JaneTeresa.com, that's Teresa without an H, and that's where you can go to listen to every podcast show that has ever been. Of course, you can also always listen to the most recent ones on all the usual platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, basically everywhere, but you can also listen to all of them at JaneTeresa.com. JaneTeresa.com is also where you can read hundreds of blogs about dreams and dreaming that I've written over many, many years. And it's also where you can go to find out about my books. It's also where you can go to find out how to book a dream consultation with me or to participate in my dream therapy programs. So you can find out all about that at JaneTeresa.com. And my other website, the Dream Academy, is where you go to do my online courses, which you can do. The first 2 you can do in your own time at your own pace. The other ones do involve one-to-one Zoom consultations with me or tutorials with me, as well as the online dream stuff. But you can begin with the first course, which is how to interpret your dreams step by step. And as I say, do it in your own time, at your own pace, and learn basically how to take any of your dreams, run it through the system that I give you to get a really good feeling for what your dream means, to learn the basic dream interpretation tools and techniques that I use every day in my work with clients worldwide. And the address for the Dream Academy it's not theadreamacademy.com, that belongs to someone else. The address of my Dream Academy is dream-academy-online.com. So I've got 2 dream stories, and they're both from recent blogs that I've written. And the first one is called Big Fish. And this one was published on my blog roll at JaneTeresa.com in December last year, December 2024. So if after listening you want to check it out and read it, you can go to the blog there and read it. Big Fish. I don't remember my dreams, Bella said, except a snippet last night about some fish being too big for a fish tank. Well, that's a start, I said. Those few words alone raise some interesting questions like, what are you trying to squeeze into your life and why doesn't it fit comfortably? And where do you need more space to be fully alive? Bella, not her real name, a journalist, was interviewing me for a piece on dreams. After the interview, I texted to ask permission to blog about her dream while protecting her identity. And then she offered a little more. She said, "Dad and I had a fish tank, and Dad wanted more fish. So we went to the shops and bought some. When we got back, we noticed the fish were way too big for the tank, and it would be cruel to try to fit them in with the other fish. The dream was set at my childhood house where we had a pool. We kept the fish in the pool while we tried to figure out how to get them into the tank. I was upset for the fish." I knew it was late in Bella's time zone, so I texted just one more question. "How exactly did you feel beneath the upset?" The answer pinged back immediately. Stressed that they weren't going to be happy in that tank and that they wouldn't be able to have the best life they could. If I was sitting down with Bella for a longer conversation, I'd ask her about the purpose of the fish tank in her dream. Was it for relaxation, to sit and watch the fish navigate their tiny world? Or was it for display, to exhibit various species and add to the room's decor? Did they have a fish tank when she was a child, and if so, what meaning or purpose did it hold for her in her life back then? We'd be exploring the fish tank symbol. Is she trying to squeeze too much into her life, diminishing space to relax? Was she encouraged to be on show in childhood, or not be on show, to be small, like the small fish in the tank, to not take up too much space? Yet it is her dad in the dream who wants bigger fish. Does she feel encouraged or pressured by her father to take on something bigger or be bigger in some way? Everything in a dream represents something about the dreamer. So the big fish represents something about Bella that is big and needs more space to thrive. So why is she still thinking about how to fit this big energy into the tank at the end of her dream? Now, Bella may read this and recognise some practical elements. She may relate it to writing a book or an article and trying to fit too many big ideas into it. She might decide she needs to edit it down to make it fit the desired product, the required tank. Or she may relate the dream to shopping for bigger projects and then getting stressed because she feels she's taking on too much or can't see how to fit it all in with the beliefs she learned from her father as she was growing up. If she sees the purpose of a fish tank as display, she may recognise that she's focusing more on display, on what things look like, than on giving herself and her ideas space for growth and development. Why did she dream about fish in a tank? Why not birds in a cage? Or tigers in a zoo? Does she feel like a big fish in a small pond? Does she talk about fishing for ideas? Is her dream reflecting the metaphors she uses in her waking life? We tend to dream about animals when our animal instinctive nature is aroused, or when something is shifting in our unconscious, an energy we are becoming aware of but that has not yet found a voice. Energies that have found a voice are more likely to be symbolised in dreams by people speaking words. A powerful exercise is to close your eyes and feel your way into a dream animal, or even adopt a body position that feels like the animal and move around. Bella might try to move like one of the big fish in her dream as it waits in the pool to be transferred to the tank. What does it feel like? What does the fish want to tell her? What can the big fish teach her about this part of herself? What does it want? There's emotion in Bella's dream when she feels it would be cruel to try to fit the big fish in with the other fish. This adds colour. She is being unkind to herself at some level. She is stressed that the fish weren't going to be happy and would not be able to live their best life. Yet still, at the end of the dream, she has the big fish waiting in the pool while she works out how to get them into the tank. Maybe there's a way to integrate the small and big fish so that they can live in harmony in the tank, but that doesn't feel quite right, does it? What Bella needs is to integrate the big fish energy into her life by giving it more space, possibly space away from the need to be on display. She may need to let go of some of the smaller fish, smaller things perhaps related to childhood, in her life, so she can dedicate more room to bigger things. Symbolically, she perhaps needs to put the fish in a bigger pond, not a bigger tank, not an artificial pool, but somewhere where she can feel connected to them and nurture her best life. From a dream alchemy perspective, she might imagine herself as a big fish swimming in a big pond, living her best life. She might then extend that feeling to herself as a woman, having the space to live her best life. No dream or dream snippet is too small to offer rich rewards. The questions and reflections I have posed here are a small sample of the territory Bella and I might explore during a dream consultation or during dream therapy. But the bottom line is clear. Bella's best life is not to be found trying to squeeze that big fish energy into a small tank, but the end of her dream shows she is still trying to do exactly that. Her focus is still on the problem of getting the fish into the tank. Time to shift that focus, Bella. And just before I go on to the next dream story, just notice there that all of that came from a dream snippet. It wasn't a great big long remembered dream. So, when you're contemplating coming on to the dream show as a guest, it's wonderful if you bring a big dream. It's wonderful if you bring a small dream. It's wonderful if you bring a dream snippet. Whatever you bring, we can work with that and bring out its magic. So the second and last dream story is called How Long is a Piece of String? And this is one I wrote as a blog on my other blog role at the Dream Academy in July last year, July 2024. And the Dream Academy, again, dream-academy-online.com is where you go to take my online courses, but I've also got a big blog roll happening there, so you can pop over there and read lots of stuff on dreams and dreaming. And this one is called How Long is a Piece of String? How long is a piece of string? Or how long is a roll of toilet paper in a dream? And why couldn't I break off a single sheet? I used to have a recurring dream where I tried to detach a single piece of toilet paper from the roll. It held fast. I'd roll out a few more sheets, try to gently tear along a different perforation line. No give. I'd pull harder. The soft tissue paper became soft plastic. Then it would morph into an elastic kind of toffee that was impossible to tear. The more I pulled, the more viscous and resistant it became. It was so frustrating, an endless toilet roll, an impossible, endless task. Then one night, as I began to struggle with the dream toilet paper, I saw a microscopic pair of golden scissors on a table beside me. They were Art Deco in style and age, an intricate yet delicate filigree design. Embroidery scissors, I thought, if such a thing exists. Someone might sew the final stitch in an embroidery and reach for the scissors to cut the silken thread. Snip, job done. In the dream, I picked up the tiny scissors and snipped the toffee toilet paper. One easy snip, job done. My dreaming mind had finally come up with a solution. It also provided me with a symbol I could use for a dream alchemy practice. Throughout the following days, I visualised holding the beautiful scissors and simply snipping through toffee toilet paper. So easy, job done. What happened next? I began to see simple solutions to seemingly endless tasks in my life. I noticed that if I stepped back from hard effort, easier pathways emerged. I began to see when a job was complete rather than overworking it. As a dream analyst, I should have created a dream alchemy practice for this recurring dream well before this final dream. It would have stopped the dream and helped me to free myself from an endless task, or the belief that certain tasks are endless and require more work and effort than necessary. Now, I'm generally very good at creating and doing my dream alchemy. The irony, of course, is that this recurring dream would appear when I was too busy wrangling and wrenching an endless task to take time out for dream alchemy. I'm grateful that my dreaming mind persisted and finally found the solution. Problem solving is one of the functions of dreaming, but dreams must often work through a mire of tangled, tough, viscous, unconscious or limiting beliefs before they can come up with a solution. The dream scissors reminded me of an intricate filigree key. They were the key to resolving the problem. Scissors are also a tool, just as dream alchemy is a tool. My dream scissors were gold, and dream alchemy is about transforming elements of our being into gold. The scissors belong to a pre-digital age, both in style and, in my mind's eye, an age where one might spend an afternoon engaged in a creative pursuit that doesn't involve a digital screen. Many of my previously apparently endless tasks involved screens. How long is a piece of string? You decide. How long do you want to endure a frustrating recurring dream? You decide. Interpret it, or get help interpreting it. Discover how it relates to your life and how your mindset is resisting a solution. Then apply dream alchemy. Snip, job done. And that's the end of that blog. And of course, if you've also got a recurring frustrating dream, that could also be a dream to bring to the dream show as a guest. So I want to go out on today's dream show by reminding you yet again to consider and take action upon the thought of volunteering to be a guest on the dream show, either anonymously, to go deep on your dream, or if you've got something to share with our audience that you want to say who you are and bring along a dream that we will look at for about 10 minutes as part of your process as a guest, so that people get to know you through your dream as well as through your work. Place to go for that is go to janeteresa.com, go to the menu, go to podcasts, under the drop-down box, be a guest on the dream show. Basically, you email me, but of course you don't tell me anything about the dream that you want to bring to the dream show, because that is something that I hear for the first time when we start the show. So here I am, ready to receive your contributions as guests, ready to record some shows to start to fill up all the episodes that we want to put out for 2025. Thank you for listening to yet another episode of The Dream Show, whether this is the first one you've ever listened to, whether you've listened to loads, whether you've listened for nearly 16 years, and whether you want to delve back into the past or contribute to the future. Thank you for spending some time with me, and I look forward to bringing out the next episode of The Dream Show in another 4 weeks. I'm Jane Teresa Anderson.